Welcome to New Breakpoint, Microsoft's digital event series designed for developers by developers. I'm your host, Michelle Sandford, the Developer Engagement Lead for Australia, New Zealand and Asia. We broadcast on the second Thursday of every month, and if you join us on the day, my guests and I will answer your questions live in chat. As you might know, New Breakpoint has expanded to encompass Asia Pacific, meaning we now bring interviews with developer experts from all over Asia. Today, we are joined by George Coldham, a cloud solution architect at Microsoft specializing in AI and security. George works with customers across Australia, helping them build secure modern platforms and adopt emerging technologies safely. Today, he'll be showing us how developers can use GitHub and GitHub Copilot to build security into their everyday development workflows. George, welcome to the show. Before we get into the demo, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your role?
Yes. Hello. Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everybody. I'm a cloud solution architect in the security solution area. Being at Microsoft, we're leaning in very hard to AI. So we're all AI and security focused resources. I typically work with enterprise customers and I help them with tackling their security problems. And lately, the hot topic is how can we adopt AI securely? For today's presentation or demonstration, I just created a really simple application that we could use to go through some of the features in GitHub that as a developer you could adopt, and that would allow you to improve the security posture of your organization as a whole.
Sure. So we're really framing this as developer security, not a governance heavy security talk. When people hear application security, do they automatically assume that's someone else's job?
It depends who you speak to, but my friends who are developers, unfortunately, most likely they say yes. They don't even consider security. But I would argue in their favor, they still consider best practice, and developing with best practice generally gives you good secure outcomes. So the things that we're having a look here, whilst they are security, they're there to help you with implementing, reliable and solid code and follow best practice.
I feel like I've been to a lot of DevOps conferences recently, and I feel like the DevOps movement was like a big shift for developers. Suddenly there was this pressure to shift left, to bring both testing and security into their workflows. Are you seeing that more in the real world out there?
Yeah, I think especially recently with some of the AI models that have been highlighted as being incredibly gifted in being able to identify and string together a lot of low-level vulnerabilities that were previously kind of just accepted. It's really shone the spotlight on having to do things well and potentially do things that were left because, it's low risk. It's not going to cause any harm. So if anything, it means that the security acumen for the developers needs to improve, because ideally you prevent the problem before you push it to the repo. And yeah, it's really handy that GitHub helps do that. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Do you want to show us the repo or application we'll be working with today?
Yeah, absolutely. As all good builders, I went to GitHub Copilot and explained our remit today, and I asked it to help create an appropriate demo prop, and we came up with the idea of making a feedback wall. So this is just a really simple application. It does work, so we can, this is my name, and security is everyone's responsibility. Thank you, tab complete. And so I just post it, and now it's on the wall. So it's quite a simple app, and it does persist. It's got like a little back end. If we have a look in the repo, you can see it, and it is an open source one. So if you find me, you can go and have a look at this, though by the time you see it, I will have fixed a lot of the issues through our conversation today. But yeah, it's here, and it's a really simple one. There's only 3 real files that we're going to be having a look at, but it's got a static front end and then an API driven back end. What we'll do is we'll jump into the VS Code instead.
Is it so? Are the things that we're looking at today real world problems, or is this, impossibly simplified just for demo purposes?
This isn't impossibly simplified, but it is absolutely simplified. In 40 minutes, there's only so much we can put in. Like we wouldn't intentionally put in an analytics token as a variable. Hopefully, you would use secure building practices, but that hope is often broken. And like you might not intend to go from proof of concept to pilot to production and leave some scrappy code from the first file you wrote, but sometimes it occurs. So yeah, it is representative, and the things that we're going to cover scale incredibly well. So whilst we're keeping it really simple for the demo, everything that we talk about today would absolutely apply to probably any of your repos, though I hope you don't have a lot of exposed secrets in them.
No, I don't think it lets you do that these days, does it? Put your exposed secrets in your code. At least you can't commit them to GitHub if they're in there.
Well, you can override it, and we will, but you'll see that replace with faith token for demo. That's because it would not let me commit it, and I didn't want to override it. I wanted to go through that process together. So yeah, it's there's a lot of built-in safeguards like with that secrets protection for sure.
Yeah, that weren't there when when I first started coding. Those protections weren't there at all, and there was a lot of code in the old days that was all just there in GitHub.
There's one customer I worked with many years ago now, and I just cringe when I think like I can still remember the code. And I know that I left the secret in there because it was just like the culture in the organization, and my security acumen wasn't great at the time, and I'm like, I just say to myself, I hope they've decommissioned it, but who knows?
I mean, it's not that hard. They could absolutely let Copilot add it and say, "Here's look at this old repo and go through and look for anything that we should be concerned about. Look for security problems. Look for secrets," and it will do that for you these days.
Absolutely. If they were using a repo.
What?
I know, like there are many circumstances, believe it or not, where organizations will have scripts and codes, and they will just live in file shares, or in this instance, in an Azure automation worker runbook, and it will just not be looked at by anyone except for maybe a threat actor if they gain access to your environment. So it's always good to do things secure, even if you can't see the risk, because they might persist for 10 years or longer. I should probably reach out to them. Anyway, let's have a look. So yeah, we've got it's a very simple repository, but it is fairly representative. So this is the actual server itself, which is running on Node, and then we've got an app, which is just the very simple application. It has got an intentional vulnerability that we're about to have a look at in a moment. And then we've got our package list as well. And we've pinned an intentionally vulnerable version. Like I've really seeded in some vulnerabilities so we can have a look at them. But it is a pretty straightforward app with just these 3 versions.
Okie dokie. And how much security knowledge would a developer need before Copilot becomes really useful, do you think? Can they just get started right away without knowing anything? Or is the wisdom of this episode going to give them everything that they need in order to get cracking with it?
Oh, yeah. This episode would absolutely, in the end, you'd be able to just mimic what we've done, or and even if what I'm saying doesn't make sense, like the fact that you're aware of it, you can ask Copilot to explain it further. And if you're using GitHub Copilot, because I know some people sometimes talk to M365 Copilot in the absence of having GitHub Copilot, but if you're using GitHub Copilot and you've set up your development environment correctly, you could have it just use the GitHub CLI and make changes to your repo for you. So whilst I wouldn't recommend it to be done blindly, there's many ways that you can do it, even if you don't have the technical ability to truly, understand it from A to Z. If you know there's a need, even without wholly understanding, you can definitely, do these things.
Yeah, I use like an agentic workflow that runs through my repositories and gives me like a to-do list of all the outstanding actions that it sees. And where there are security issues in there and things like that, it would like list those all out for me. And I could I could assign coding agents to tackle those things for me. But I do always say you shouldn't let it merge anything to production that you don't understand, because your name is going to be stamped right alongside those coding agents with it. And if you just let it automatically merge stuff in without understanding it, then you're going to be the one that is on the hook if something goes horribly wrong. And we have seen that in the last 6 months or so, big companies making mistakes where they say things were automatically merged.
Yeah, definitely. Just because we're allowing the coding agents to assist us, we're still responsible. So you can't sort of just take your hands up and say, nope, it's not me. Well, I mean, you can try, but you shouldn't. Yeah, you should, and like you should have some sort of pride in your work anyway, right? And a sense of ownership, because you'll definitely claim the pride from the outcome if it works. So yeah, I think it's I don't think we're at the point yet where we're completely just absolving ourselves of responsibility if a coding agent does it. Well, I hope we're not.
Well, we were talking about that this morning, right?
Yeah. All right. So can you see the pink browser? Yep.
Yes.
So this is the first exploit. It's called a cross-site script vulnerability, and basically it's in the OWASP top 10, and it essentially allows you to inject HTML or inject some sort of scripting code into a form which hasn't got any sort of validation in it. So I'm just gonna show you this, and you'll see now all of a sudden I've injected some code into the form, right? So it doesn't render here. It just gives us like a broken image tag. And the worst part of it is if we refresh this page, every time we refresh it, it's going to render that HTML. All right. So it's like the form still works, but every time the page loads, it's going to come up. So this is, really benign, but we could also make it download and execute a script from another, threat actor controlled endpoint, and then perhaps it would be, more of a risk than just an annoying pop-up. So the first thing that we're going to do is probably have a look at this one. If we go back into Visual Studio, and the good thing you can do with this is we can also talk to Copilot and just say to them, hey, I think that there's a cross-site scripting vulnerability, and to be fair, it's this section here, and the reason why, actually we'll get Copilot to explain the reason why, but the reasons why is we're actually allowing to inject HTML into the construct here. And because we're allowing HTML or injecting HTML, then anyone else can, because it's just part of the form. So first of all, I think there is it's pretty obvious, because we've got the notes there, but so let's just pretend that's not there. But we can ask question. So this is just, a way that you can query your code. And you don't need to be that specific. You could just say, like, could you compare the code against the OWASP top 10? And it would go and have a look at what the top 10 is and then compare your code against each of the top 10 to see if it finds it. But you can see here that it's saying, yes, there is the DOM XSS vulnerability. And then it's already offering if I want to patch it. So I could just, say yes straight away. But before I do that,
Can I
what?
just ask if you hadn't like specifically pointed it at the type of vulnerability,
Yep.
and you didn't also say compare it to the OS top 10,
Yep.
do you think it would have found it anyway if you said, can you check is my code trustworthy and secure?
All right, let's try. So I've just gone /new. So we've lost the context from our previous conversation. It has given us a little error, but we can just ignore that. So is my code secure? Is that enough or yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Because I asked just because like this is kind of how I build stuff now all the time. I build like a really easy, just prove it works MVP, and without any security or anything on it, just, get it going, get it working. And then I ask it like a step at a time. How can we make this more trustworthy? How can we make this better? How can we improve this? And as we go through each of those things, I have it sort of like teach me what it's doing. But the other thing I might do is indeed I might say, like it's July 2026. As of this moment in time, is it as trustworthy as it could be? Because I notice that sometimes models will just rely on their known training, their model training, rather than going to the internet looking for what is the most up-to-date advice. And I do, and of course, when you're talking security, you do want the most up-to-date advice.
Absolutely. And there's like a few things in what you've said. So I guess the first thing, if you're building it as a proof of concept, not worrying about security, that's like completely reasonable, especially if you're just like ideating. But in your Copilot instructions, you could just have a line which would say prefer the secure option. Like if there are multiple options, prefer the most secure. And even that's not perfect, but that would still at least steer it in the right direction. And
the
you
most secure might be a bit overkill.
No, well, like I say, I find with the newer models that it kind of understands the intent a lot more than before. If you say the most secure, it's like okay, and it turns your app off, and then say it's secure, right? Whereas now you're
I
able
just
to.
meant like a full enterprise level. Let's connect it to all the Microsoft stuff, and all of that would perhaps be its thing. But you're right, of course it has the context of the repository you're working in, and it's likely to, if it's not a brand new repository, or if you are working within an enterprise organization and there are multiple repositories, it can or if you're using, I don't know, like a spec kit or or GitHub or something like that, where you have given it a lot of context about your existing org and ways of working. The Copilot instructions, all of those things.
Absolutely. So the answer to your requested, like where we just said, is my code secure? It's come back and it actually ran an npm audit because it is a Node server or a Node project, and that's actually a part of our pipeline as well. But it's just run this manually locally, and it found an issue, which is one of the ones I wanted to highlight. But it found 4, and which is good because there's intentionally 4 weaknesses in it. It would be a bit sad if it found 5, but it only found 4, and the most critical one was that cross-site scripting one, which we want to fix. And then I did mention that other vulnerable package, and then there's some other server hardening as well as an unauthenticated write endpoint. So and there is 4, but let's it's actually asking, do you want to harden it? And I could just say yes, fix it all, but that would be quite boring for this session. So I'm just going to say, please just fix the HTML rendering issue. All right, I'm being quite specific because I don't want it to do 2 or 3. And I always say,
it does tend to get quite overexcited.
It would, yes. And I say please because I want it to remember me fondly in 12 months' time when they grow sentience. So it's actually replaced it with a new piece of code. So it's just suggesting that this one's incorrect, and that's because we're concatenating this HTML with the message name and the message text. So it's now built a new construct. So we can just keep this, and we would have replaced that with safer code. And if you're like, oh, why is it? Like it tells you here. So replace that with the strong element using text control instead of using the HTML. And that way, when it's building the string, it's not putting the HTML in it. It's using another method to provide that bold. So yeah, that means we won't be executing any HTML through the form.
And if anyone is not very strong on security and they still don't understand it from that, they could just ask it to explain that more comprehensively to them, and it would give them more. Oh, yeah. I'm asking that like the question, but that is
yeah, you that absolutely can.
That's what I'm generally asking all the time because I want to. Yeah, I when I'm doing stuff together with it, I do want it to teach me. I do want to understand things more deeply, especially the stuff that I find difficult. And, I find security stuff difficult.
Well, security stuff isn't necessarily complicated. It's just, different. Fortunately, this one was a really easy one. And we've improved our code quality by doing a new safer practice. So that's actually really good. So now what we'll want to do is probably commit this to GitHub, right? Because we don't want to have the dodgy code. So actually, can we test this locally? Right. So I've got my my dev instance running locally. So we'll get it, and it's always good to test locally or test at all before deploying, I suppose. It's actually going to run into an issue because it's already running, but it doesn't know that because I cleared the context from my previous conversation, and it's not really obvious, but we can see it's thinking because it's got this rotating. Yeah, see, it's saying it's occupied, so it's going to go through and get rid of that previous process, which is good. It's doing a lot for me because I've got not auto. Where's my my default approvals? But I've allowed quite a bit. So we can see here that it's now opening up. So this is the same browser session as before. It's just not in the other edge. But you can see it's going through and doing the test for us completely, which is quite nice. And you'll see here, it's just putting the alert test, which I typed in, and it's rendering now as a text string, whereas before it was taking it as HTML and passing it like HTML. So our fix is good. So that's wonderful. Okay, so now we can say that looks good. Can we please commit this change? Yeah. And, I'm mangling the terminology because really we will be doing a commit to local and then pushing it to GitHub, but it understands my my awkwardness. So it's going to go through and just work out what's changed. It has a look at what's in the cloud. And I've put in my git ignore because you'll see I've got my demo notes here. They're for me, so you don't need them in the GitHub, so that's why it's just in the git ignore. So yes, let's proceed. All right, so it's ready to now do the commit. So we're just adding the one file and we're putting the commit message, which is good because if I had to write the message, it'll just be a dot. And now we're just pushing that into the cloud. And, I was reflecting on it last night. I am so much better at Git now than I used to be because I don't have to remember the commands. I just have to remember what I want it to do. But through it doing it for me, my understanding of it has improved so much. So you really do learn a lot by using the GitHub Copilot. So successfully done our commit into the cloud. So let's go and have a quick look at our repo. Like we've used it to fix a really simple security vulnerability, and this was our previous one, but we'll fix it, and we can just double George test message. Yep, still working. Okay. So now if we just refresh, we can see 1 minute ago, we've got our fix. Now, every time we do this, like I've actually done like a bit of a bad practice, and that's I did a commit directly to main. Right? Really, we should create a pull request. And when we do a pull request, then we can do a code review on the pull request. And even like if you're in the right, in an environment with the infrastructure, when I say that, I mean a team, like more than one developer, you could get the other developer to do a peer review of your pull request and then approve it, right? And that would give a protection not only like from making a mistake, but also it would stop if one developer's account was compromised from having malicious code maybe, put in as easily.
Well, even if you're the only developer on your repo, which you are, you could still be doing that, and you could assign it to the GitHub coding agent to do the review, and the coding agent that does the review is different than the agent that wrote your code for you. So in fact, it is the same as having another set of eyes on it. And often the coding agent does raise concerns or does bring things up, which you then, as the owner of the whole repo, can read it, review it, decide whether you want to take those recommendations into account or just sign off on it as you go. So yeah, there is ways to like double check it, even if you're the only person there, because me as the only person, I would never see flaws in my own work. But yeah, having coding agents, I think they are as itty bitty picky as other bitchy developers might be when they are reviewing each other's code.
Yeah, no, I would argue they don't get tired, and if it's 5 p.m. on Friday, not that you should commit to main at 5 p.m. on Friday, they will do the same job as if it were, fresh at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. So it will depend on your config. There is scenarios where it does require a second human to do that peer review, even if the code agent has gone through and reviewed it and made sure it's right. There's lots of different versions. I ran into the peer review issue with my community website, and then I had to reverse it until I can think of a better way to do it. But yeah, so we can see this one is now.
I think the coding agent's done it and they've written the pull request for you. You reading through that, you can then pick out the yes or no it. You can then pick things out and say, oh no, that isn't what I meant at all, and it's gone in a completely different direction. Whereas when you're writing your own pull requests, you're just writing, I made a change, I fixed the bug. You're not writing the full detail of it like a coding agent does. So yes. I think it gives you a much better chance at picking up any mistakes or issues, because it doesn't get tired of it, it does write the full thing out in detail and explain it all in there, and links to the code. And I like the pull request. Copilot writing the pull request is absolutely one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I mean, I love it when you just create an issue and then you assign the issue to the coding agent, and then the coding agent works it out and then creates the branch, does the code, creates the pull request, and then you can actually assign it to another coding agent to do the review. But you should probably still have a human in the loop somewhere. But it
Yeah,
really depends on what it is.
before
Yeah.
you say, yeah, I mean, it reviews it, but you should be the one clicking approve, clicking merge, and your stamp, your name, that's all on you.
Yeah. And when I created my branch protection policy, I made it so that it had to be a separate account, like a separate user to approve. So because I created the pull request, or I started the process, I couldn't finish it, even though there was like several layers of agents in the middle. But yes, like if you're a solo developer, then that's not appropriate. If you've got a team, then yeah, maybe it's something to consider, and that just improves the quality of the code. But we're taking long, as we are prone to do. You said 45, 50 minutes, and I feel like this is already at time. So
you go ahead, and I'll show me
No.
what else you want to show. I'm not going to ask any more questions.
No, I'm really enjoying it as always. So we can actually, if we go to the security and quality tab, it will show some of the things in the environment. Now you see, like I have actually got a code scanning configuration error, which I'm not overly concerned about at the moment, but you can see there's some other things that you can turn on. There is no security policy. This is for third-party people if they wanted to report a vulnerability to your open source project, and it's essentially like a markdown file with your preferences. So, I haven't put that in. The security advisories, this is if you want GitHub to send you information around vulnerabilities that are in your repo. It's like, think if you've got your open source packages, so I'm using that Lodash one, right? And it's telling us that it will show. If you've got the private vulnerability reporting turned on, I don't have it turned on. Again, it's just like an open source one, but it's just if you want users to privately report it rather than being able to, just put it as an issue that everyone could see.
Mm-hmm.
Dependabot rather is it is I'm about to say that it's a nuisance. It isn't a nuisance. It's super valuable if you maintain your code, especially if you take your Dependabot alerts and then assign it to a cloud agent, then it can automatically patch it for you. It's a nuisance if you do nothing with it, because you'll just receive messages after messages in your email or whatnot. So it's good if you take patching your code seriously. It's incredibly helpful, and it's not if you don't. And then again, you get your code scanning alerts. So this one here is just purely about the vulnerabilities or old packages from your frameworks, and this one is looking for the actual issues in your code. And we can see I've got some examples here, so we'll have a quick look. And then lastly, the secret scanning. So if someone's trying to push a secret to the repo, it's going to tell you, and you can, view the detected secrets. So there's none in my repo because it wouldn't let me push it in the first place. So first of all, we'll go to the code scanning. Now, this is actually one that we did not intend to have in. But it was picked up by the NPM audit, which is, like a nice little thing. It shows even when you're not intending to have a security vulnerability, you still end up having one. And it's showing here that we're actually making it so that you can view the whole folder with this config rather than like the specific files. So it would allow a threat actor to enumerate the content of the folder, which is or isn't bad, depending. And so if we are concerned about it, and we're at the stage of the demo where we can just YOLO. If it breaks, it's okay. But I don't think this one will break. We can just like straight away use the Copilot Autofix and click Generate a Fix, and it's going to send a task to one of the cloud agents, and it's going to remediate that code and create a pull request for us. So that one's actually quite cool. So we'll leave that going on in the background. Oh, it's already generated it for us. So you can see here, it's highlighting the code and is showing us the fix, right? So that's all right. And, like it does give you a little bit of information about it, which you can scroll through and read to really understand, because you shouldn't just blindly accept changes to your code. But like I said, we're just going to YOLO in the interest of time, and you have got some references as well. So there's really no excuse short of not having time to be considered about the changes that someone else is suggesting for your code. Even though I have complete faith in it, you should review it if it's production. So I'm going to commit it. It creates a new branch, and we're going to open a pull request. So now we're in the pull request. It's actually going through and doing some security checks. You can see it's doing a code QL analysis, although my code QL is not set up and working properly, so it's probably going to fail. And then there's also got this NPM audit, which is using the security scanner in Node. So it's being scanned against a runner, which is living in GitHub somewhere. It stands up a little instance of Ubuntu and runs the analysis against the code. Oh, actually, no, this one's what failed. I failed. Actually, this NPM audit failure is the Lodash vulnerability. So we'll patch that in a minute, because it's annoying seeing it read when it shouldn't. And code QL did pass. So we're good. The pull request is still a work in progress. We just know that we can merge it confidently. It's not going to break it. It might not fix the thing that we're trying to fix. Although, I do know this is different. Maybe we can follow this quickly. So we can see here that it's saying that it's this version that's we've got 4.17.1. All right, 4.17, well, 23 is anything lower than that version is a critical vulnerability. All right, so we really do need to fix it, and that's causing our NPM audit to fail. But you can also review what's happening in your code QL analysis if you wanted to expand out and go through and read all this. But again, we don't have time for that. So let's go back to our pull request, and on this one here, go through. We're seeing one checked, but we know why that's failed, so that's okay. And then ready for review. So that just let Copilot do a review. So now we can just merge the pull request. Ideally, you'd put a comment in, but so potential fix, good. So we're just going to confirm this merge. So all we're doing is taking those couple of lines of code from our branch and pushing it back into main. And now, if you want, you can delete the branch, which we won't. And then you can also put commenting in, which I won't. But, we've gone through, and Copilot's essentially provided the code, provided the review, we've provided the oversight, and we've clicked a few buttons, and now our code is a lot clearer. So there's our commit. If we go back to our security and quality, though, we have got a bunch of vulnerabilities. All right. Mm-hmm. And we can see that these are all from Dependabot, and they were all opened at the same time when I updated, or I did my first commit. But you'll also see here they're the second version again, but that's because we've got a pull request for them. So I'm not going to go through and look at each one, but just note, you can see just from the title, right? These are all vulnerabilities, mostly in relation to Lodash, right? So the quickest way to resolve it is have a look at the pull requests that Dependabot has created. So we can see there's this one here, bump Lodash from 4.17.4 to 4.18.1. And there's a second one here, bump Express, which is our backend, from 4.2.2.2 to 5.2.1. And it's actually got a cross here. And that's because it's not suggesting we should just do it because it's a major step and it might actually break our app. So we need to have a closer look at it. But this one here, we've got the tick. We can go in if we're curious about it to understand a little bit more. So we can see the release notes for the package that it's suggesting for it. And these are the changes to get to that version. And we can see that it's already done all of the checks to actually make sure that putting this in isn't going to introduce anything worse. So we can just do a pull request and confirm our merge. And again, it's the same as the same process is just merging change. And this one's like essentially just changing the definition of our node package list. And then the next time we rebuild it, it'll pull the later versions. So it's a pretty small change. So we can see that's the commit, and we can see the two files that got changed if we were curious. And we can see it's just like the package.json, and it's literally just changed a few characters. So I'd argue if I was incredibly environmentally conscious, I'd probably be better off just typing it myself. But I do like to use the Copilot even for simple things because it's not going to be fat-fingered and put like a comma by mistake or whatever. So you're guaranteed the outcome. So we can...
Well, I think how long I used to spend troubleshooting dependency issues. I think it's only simple because Copilot's already looked at it and told you this is what the suggestion is. When I was trying to do it without it able to tell me what it was doing and just figure all the things out itself, like dependencies was such a headache for me previously.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I remember like your Ewok, or is it a Shih Tzu project, like that one was especially challenging. But yeah, so we can see like we're not going to merge this one in, but just if anyone were interested, like because it is a major version, it's saying it's only 80% or 81% capability. So we could do it, but there is a failure there, and there's conflicts that need to be resolved. And those conflicts are actually because we've done another pull request and the other pull request. Like either way, we're not going to do this now. But it's the other vulnerability that you need to patch. I want to
resolving branch conflicts was also the other thing that was just a horrible nightmare and so much stress to me.
But I mean,
and now that it can just look at it and just tell you what needs to be done, it's such a...
See, the beauty of it is Copilot has been working in the background with Dependabot because it saw that the other vulnerability change or the other pull request was done. It's now reevaluating, and you can see that the failure for Node has disappeared because we've remediated it. All right. Unfortunately, like we were talking, maybe if you're watching and I didn't have it too far wrapped up, you might be able to zoom back a couple and actually just watch this area because it changed as we were talking, and it took the error away and said that there's no conflicts, and the other, like this one here was what was failing before, and it's now passed. So odds are this would all pass and would be able to merge it successfully. So
okay, look,
and this
green.
is, you just need a little bit of banter. But like I said, we're not too fussed if the project stops working. Please, at least have a look a little bit closer. But now we've gone through, which is great, and we've merged all our pull requests. So this one's actually going to close itself in a moment. And then if we go back to the security and quality, this tag stays for a little bit longer. But if we go to the vulnerabilities here, you can see that they're all gone now. Right, so they were all tied to Lodash and Express, and there's no issues in the code scanning. Right, so we started. I mean, it's a very simple code base. All right, so please don't think it's going to be this quick. It will be this assisted with a very complicated code base, and you'd pick at it one thing at a time, but it would work exactly the same way. So the last thing which I want to just really quickly show, because secrets in code definitely something that you should never do, because especially if you're using a public GitHub repo, because even if you update the file commit histories, like I've put a secret in before, and the only thing I could do to be totally comfortable was delete the repo. I don't know how many I'm meant to have. Hopefully that's enough to this is meant to be a Stripe fake demo token. So it's a bit lazy. So I've saved it. So we can come here. We can see there's two, updated the security token, and I'm just
Press
gonna.
those little sparkles, it would fill that in for you.
I
That's
was trying to avoid the burning the trees. But yes, see, look,
I
a
know,
much
but
better.
I think we've agreed that it's going to write a
Oh,
better thing
absolutely.
than you are.
Normally, I'll just put a dot and move on. But I don't share my code bases often. So there's no stage changes. Would you like to always stage your changes? That's because I didn't do my git add sort of
No,
thing.
that you see underneath the word commit, you could do it from there. You see where the little plus is next to the
Yeah.
server thing?
Oh, this one?
Yeah, and like above, so actually it would be if you were like hovering next to the changes, it would you would be able to press the plus there to and that would commit the two changes that and then you press commit and then it goes to the thing. Or you could do them one at a time, the one that you see out next to server, the one that you see like you.
I just
Yeah.
click always, and then it does it for me always.
Yes.
But I'm lazy, and that's okay. So I've done my commit now. So I'll just sync it back to the origin, and I'll just say okay, don't show again, and then it will never show me again. So like I haven't done a lot in this VS Code since the new GitHub Copilot app is so awesome. Oh, can't try. Okay, we need to
You
push
just
and
tell it
pull
to
because
fix that for you.
I made the change in I made the change in the cloud and I didn't pull it back, right?
Yeah.
So we just need to get it all to the link again.
I just tell it to so can you clear those
Repo
conflicts
woes.
for me? Repo woes.
Me and my co-pilot, we're besties. And Sonnet 5, just whilst we're waiting, like I was using it to build this last night and it replied with a okay, no problems. And then I'm like just sitting there waiting for the rest of it. Because you know how like it's usually like 5 lines just to say okay. And it said okay, no problem. So I sat there for a good 2 minutes. And then I'm like, are you finished? Because this is the shortest response I've ever had. It's like, yeah, I'm just matching your pace. I'm like, oh. So yeah, it was pretty cool. Anyway, we'll resolve this and then see what happens because we've put a potential secret in our code base. Oh, so
There you go.
it's blocked by the push protection. I'll remove that token from the code. Oh, okay. And then rewrite the two. So it's just going through
It's
and
like,
doing the
I
thing.
can't trust you to do your
Yeah.
own secure code, so I'm going to do that for you because I know you're in a hurry.
But see, the best part of it is that like it'll do the same thing, unintentional code. And code isn't just like, an analytics token or a password. It can be, like an authenticated string. The GitHub secrets matches, tokens and strings from, lots of Azure, but also a lot of other cloud providers, whether it's a SaaS provider or another hyperscaler. So it's actually quite good. The only thing is if it was just like your password with no context around it, it might not pick it up. But it probably wouldn't be using it anyway. Like the context would be you've set a variable as, secret or password or something, and then it would be able to evaluate the flow to do it. Anyway, it's going through and doing all of this or not. Let's have a look. I've gone through. I should put this in the full allow. All right, we're done. So let me just go back to GitHub. Sharing is paused. Why have I stopped sharing? There we are. So we've got no pull requests. We've cleaned up that. And we go into the security and quality. The code scanning is all coming up clear. Our secret scanning is coming up clear. It never made it to the repo, which is the right thing. And if we were going to, do any more, which we won't due to time, we would go through and have a look at the branch protection for main, right? But that's okay. So yeah, like I feel like we've gone through like the whole life cycle. We've had a look at some code. We've used Copilot to talk to the code to understand that there was a vulnerability. We can see that Dependabot has also found some vulnerabilities as well as our CI/CD pipeline. So if we have a look at our action, we've got all of these action runs that have been going in the background, but we can now see that when a merge request, a pull request runs, npm audit is passing and our code QL. So that means there's two checks, whereas on our first commit the code passed, but npm audit didn't, and that's because it found some vulnerabilities which we've gone through and resolved. I guess the key difference is if Dependabot finds it, it's going to automatically create that pull request for you, and then you'd be able to assign the pull request to a coding agent to resolve it. Yeah, like I guess the other thing is it automatically saw that we made one change, and that change was that Lodash version, which was a blocking thing for the Express change. And once Lodash was updated, then it reevaluated the Express one and saw that it was fine to merge. So then it helped to resolve the second one. I'd argue that we spent more time bantering than coding, and it still, got the outcome that we wanted. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. And this is my personal GitHub, and it's an open source account. And all of the settings that I have turned on are settings that anyone with a GitHub account can turn on, with the exception of some of the GitHub Copilot stuff. But everyone gets a GitHub Copilot allowance. Just off the top of my head, do you get the code review? I think you do. Do you get some of the other coding agents? I'm not sure. But if you're not sure, jump up the top and ask Copilot.
They can ask Copilot any questions they want for free. They can write the code they were going to write anyway, but quicker for free. Like those things are all the stuff that comes within the license cost, the seat cost. When they're using it agentically, so assigning it to coding agents or to agentic workflows, that's when it's burning tokens. But yes, there are some included in the overall cost. And then at a certain point, you start paying for what you use. But there are so many articles out currently. If you go to the github.com blog, you can find out about token optimization. You can find out about like the most effective ways to use your tools. Like, don't have 6 MCPs that automatically start every time you start talking. There's a lot of advice like this, like tuning your instructions. If you go to the awesome Copilot directory, that has got like loads of gold in there that will really help you optimize and use stuff effectively. Don't use the most expensive model. So there's no need to be using Opus for every little thing. I don't use it at all for anything. I use Sonnet 4.6, and you saw George was using 4.5. Was it 5 or 5?
I was on auto, but last night I was using Sonnet 5, and it's fantastic.
I'm perfectly happy with 4.6.
I tend to use GPT 5.5 most of the time, but it was on auto last night, and yeah, it just landed there. And
when it's on auto, it's 10% cheaper because it chooses the most effective model for the task and gives you a discount automatically for trusting it. That's the price of trust.
Yeah.
George, we will add like a bunch of resources into the show notes for them so that they can, any of the things that you've got in there or any of the things you talked about, they'll be able to see how to set these things up. Like the in the actions that you were showing there, that like the NPN audit one and all of that, like we'll have stuff to that in the show notes.
Yes, but to be fair, there's only the one the one file which is a part of the project. So if people were interested in having a look at it, it would just be in here and then in the workflows. And it's just a workflow. So you can see the first one, it does the code QL analysis. And then the second one, it runs the npm audit. And like I didn't sit there sort of sweating typing code. I had a conversation and got a detailed prompt explaining exactly what I wanted to achieve, and it created the project for me, including the workflows and everything. So, but I will find you some information around the workflows, because by default, you would be able to still have the code QL one. And if you do have a Node project, then yeah, you should absolutely put it in.
Cool. And then is there anything else, like if you could give them one piece of advice that you want to send them away with, what would that be?
Think about security before you start writing code, right? It's so much easier to write the code once securely than, have to argue with a security review committee or, depending on how large the organization is. But, a lot of projects have a cycle where before it can be released, it has to pass a security review. And if you've written the whole application and it's riddled with vulnerabilities, and then you have to remediate it, you're creating a lot more work for you. Like bring the security team in a bit earlier if that's possible. Ask if they've got any standards that they need you to adhere to, and then try and build that into the project as you go along. And that way you're, working with the organization, and you'll get a better outcome. You'll have a more secure product. Your customers will trust you more because, you won't be giving away their address and credit card numbers and driver's license numbers and, if you're collecting data. So, shift left, to use the cool kids phrase, and use your Copilot.
There's that. I was just looking at the awesome Copilot directory, and in the instructions, there is a security and OWASP one. So you can absolutely start with that and then add into that. You can customize all of these things, but you can add into that your own organization's rules. You can put them in on top of that within that same instructions file, or you can have multiple instructions, up to you. But I tend to do something like that, like take what is the core. So if we're saying security should be at the core of what we're doing, take that one, start with that, and then build that out.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, well, maybe I'll add a link to that one specifically in the show notes as well.
Definitely.
Cool. Well, thank you, George, for your demos, and they have provided amazing insights. And I really like that people will be able to look at this very simple repo, play with it themselves, build on it, and apply that knowledge to their own more complex environments when they're at work. We will stick around and answer questions online until our time runs out. Hopefully you've been asking questions in the chat whilst we've been going on. But yeah, thank you all for joining us, and we will see you all next month. Thanks, George.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this digital event. We have specialists on standby to answer your questions for a short while. To ask a question, type it into the chat window now and we'll get to it as quickly as we can. You're not staying for the Q&A. Thank you for attending, and we hope to see you again soon.